With more insights into emotional freedom techniques, this is another free sample taken from the EFT Hub resource, featuring over 100 hours of tapping material and over 50 top tapping professionals. Here is your host and creator of the Hub, Gary Williams.
So today, to help us learn more about EFT and the various techniques that you can use, I'm joined by Alina Frank. Hello, Alina.
Hi, Gary.
Hi, and thank you for taking time out to spend some time and educate us more about the different kinds of things that we can use alongside EFT. Or I suppose we could call this part of EFT, couldn't we?
It is. It's an actual technique, and it's interesting. I was going around the web just a couple days ago, and I noticed that there are still some websites that refer to EFT as emotional freedom technique, and it's actually plural. It's
Right.
techniques.
Right.
There are many, many, many techniques, and we're adding techniques all the time.
Yeah.
So this is one of the very quick and easy, very elegant, simple techniques that we have in order to really help us and assist us when working with traumatic events.
Right. When you say simple, don't you? We're going to be talking about the movie technique. I think, when you maybe see that on a page or whatever, it might look a bit complicated.
It might look a bit complicated, but it's very simple. It is it's in essence it's telling the story of the event that happened, and breaking it down and slowing it down fast enough so that we're looking for different things that may be keeping it stuck and keeping it from shifting and clearing.
There are other similar techniques, though, aren't there? Like tell the story technique, and maybe they can be confused a bit with what we're about to talk about.
Yes, actually, somebody asked me this the other day in a training. The tell a story technique is really incorporated into the movie technique.
Right.
But that's all just terminology. Really, it's just a simple way of working with a traumatic event that releases it in a fairly clean way and with real resolution. Yeah,
I was going to ask actually, where do we use that? The movie technique. Where is it best used?
The movie technique is really best used for an event that's traumatic. What ends up happening with trauma is that it is the trauma is encapsulated into our brain, and it's laid out with all of the details, and it's sort of trapped and kept separate from us in order for us to be able to function. Right. We have a traumatic event, we can't integrate it, it's broken off, it's a protective function of the brain is to encapsulate it. So in that trauma capsule, you will have the sights, the smells, the sounds, very, very small minor details of that traumatic event. And if we just kind of crack that open and expose it all at once, it could be re-traumatizing. Yeah. So this is a very gentle, easy way, and it really addresses two things that is a very common mistake for newbies. One is that not recognizing shifting aspects, and two is being too global or too general. Right. And this corrects for that, because you are going very slowly with the details of the story, and all of these different aspects, like the sight, the sound, the smell, some other thing that happened during the trauma, will show up for you to clear if you tell it slowly. Yeah. A thought happens in lightning speed, but when you're telling the story, other things can then come in. Oh yeah, I remember such and such, and tap it away.
Well, I mean, it's different though, say, from counselling, isn't it, where you just kind of talk about what happened? Yes.
So in counseling or therapy, it's talking about what happened and coming up with a diagnosis. Yeah. So all of these events clump together to create a diagnosis and a course of action, and that is not EFT. EFT is taking the event, breaking it down, correcting the zits part of it, the energy system disruption, and then the person feels free. But it's not about finding some kind of diagnosis or coming up with a treatment plan or anything like that. It's very different.
So is it safer in a sense then to use the movie technique rather than just say talk about what happened?
Exactly. It is
Right.
safer. It's a lot safer. And when there is intense emotion that comes up, the thing that people have to remember is keep tapping.
Yeah.
Keep tapping, don't stop.
Yeah. So could you like walk us from the beginning,
Sure.
like say if you were working with somebody now, what would be your first things that you would actually do when you're using the movie technique?
In order to be the most effective with the movie technique and because again, people tend to generalize. I mean, we have these neural pathways that are meant to generalize and clump things together and form associations.
Right.
So we want to make sure that the person knows that we're working on one event.
Yeah.
You want to ask them if this event that happened were a movie, how long would that movie last?
Right.
That way you're not talking about a 3-day event. I had someone last weekend in a training who the partner she was working with said, we're really not getting anywhere. And I said, what's the movie title that you're working on? And she said, The Class Reunion.
Right.
And I said, in actuality, how long did that class reunion last? And she said 3 days.
Right.
So no, we want a scene from a movie that lasts no more than a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes at most.
Yeah.
But then you want to give it a movie title to reflect what you're going to be working on, because part of EFT is sort of like exposure therapy. We're lighting the same neural pathways as when the event was occurring in order to release it. So we want to make sure we are tuning into the problem. But in a gentle way, we can do this by first starting to tap on the title. So the person gives it a title then, Mary gave me the look.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Without getting into the details, without getting into all the different aspects of it, you want to start off with just the title and see what your level of intensity is, whether you're working on yourself or working with a client. How intense is that movie title? When you think of Mary gave me the look, how intense is that for you?
Yeah.
And then you want to tap it down to a 2, 1, or a 0. Okay, even though I have this Mary gave me the look emotion, I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Right.
Go through all the points and release it. And then when they're down to a 2, 1, 0, then you can say, okay, start telling me the story from before anything happened. So go ahead to the very beginning of the movie before anything happened, the neutral point in the story. For instance, I was sitting in the garden having a lovely day, drinking some tea, and then give them instructions that as soon as they start to feel intense emotion, we're going to pause and stop the movie and tap on that little bit.
Right. Do you find they try and run off quickly into the main event?
Yes, so this is where you have to give good instructions about pausing for intensity, and you've got to check whether when you're on the phone, you've got to really listen to their voice. Intuitively, you've got to be there listening and paying attention, making sure that you don't feel intensity.
Right.
And you can also, if you suspect that there's intensity that they're not recognizing, you can actually say, okay, stop. Hit pause in the movie. How do you feel about that little piece that you just told me right now?
Right.
I actually had a Korean War veteran last month at one of my trainings, and I did the movie technique with him. And he was running on. I could see he was about to run on, and I said, No, Arnie, just stop. Check in with yourself.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about jumping in that foxhole and seeing what you saw? And when he allowed himself to tune in, he felt real intensity.
Right.
But it's just human nature to just keep going on. And many times these stories have been retold.
Yeah.
So they've told it in therapy, and they sort of gloss over and dissociate, which is a protective function of the brain.
Right.
But when you ask them, okay, when you feel it yourself or when you sense it in them, check with them and see, okay, is there any intensity there?
Right. Right.
And then tap it down again to a 2, 1, or 0 before going on. So let's say the person who's in front of me is telling me the story. Okay, Mary, I'm in the garden, I'm having a cup of tea, and it was a lovely day when suddenly I hear screaming. And so something about the way this person is saying, I heard screaming, is making me feel like there might be intensity there. I'll say stop.
Yeah.
Give me a level of intensity 0 to 10 when you hear someone screaming. Oh, okay, that's a 5. So then you would tap it down. Even though I hear someone screaming and I feel all this tension in my body or whatever, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. You get that down, then you rewind the story. Say, okay, start again at the very beginning. All right, I was having a lovely day in the garden, having a cup of tea. I hear screaming. And I'm checking again for intensity.
Right.
Is there any intensity? No, that's clear. Okay. Then the next part is I hear screaming and then I hear a big crash. All right. I sense intensity, or she senses intensity. I check in with my client. Yes, I feel that just jumped up to a 6. Right. All right. Even though I hear something crashing, and I don't know what it is, and I'm scared, I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Right. So you're taking your time, really, very slowly.
Taking your time. Because what happens is other aspects of this will pop in. It's in the trauma capsule. Those different aspects will start revealing themselves. And actually, really good things start appearing too.
Right.
For instance, this gentleman that I worked with, Arnie, he allowed me to write up his story for the EFT Universe newsletter, and that'll be out soon. He remembered details about his story that were actually positive things that he had trapped in that trauma capsule that were so hidden, but insights, positive aspects of the story hadn't revealed themselves either. But when we cleared it enough, he started remembering, yes, those guys were already dead.
Right.
I don't know why I've carried this guilt, because I did hear later on that they were already dead. Those kinds of things came up.
So you're growing, aren't you, as you're doing that? It's a growth process, yeah. But like you're saying, being very gentle but being very aware of what your client's doing as well.
Exactly.
Paying attention, really, aren't you, to their resonance, if you like.
Absolutely. You're paying attention to their resonance. And when you're using this technique alone, I suggest that you actually record it.
Right.
Take a tape recorder and record yourself telling the story, because again, you've said it so many times and you've rehearsed the scene so many times in your mind that you could be totally dissociating. But when you hear it slowly in a tape recording, you can pick up on certain things that you'll be able to work on and release it completely.
And if you are struggling, is it best to work with somebody else then, really, if you're finding the intensity too much?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is when severe trauma, it's very hard to work on your own.
Right. It's
really critical to work with a practitioner.
Right. So you're doing this step-by-step approach, taking your time, gently going through. Where do you end up then is there a natural end to that? How does that work?
Yes, when the whole scene has been told from beginning to end without any intensity, you're done.
Right.
So you're going back and you're rewinding at each peak, each crescendo that you're tapping out. You're going back to the beginning, going back to the garden, having tea before anything happened, and then you're saying the ultimate test is saying the whole movie, describing it in detail, from beginning, neutral point, to the very end of the story, of the scene, of the event, and having absolutely no charge or intensity.
Right, so you've walked all the way through to the end, as it were.
Yes.
And then it's like going in and watching a film again, if you like.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some people find that to be a bit tedious, but let me tell you, it really works. And with traumatic events, you could be stuck on many aspects of, let's say, a 30-second intense scene, a little clip in that movie. You've got the aspects of the way things smelled, the way things looked, the way things sounded, or thoughts, or beliefs that you created about that 30-second event that was so traumatic that you really do have to break it down in order to collapse it.
Right.
I was with another trainer last weekend who said that she cleared someone's, I forget how many years this poor gentleman had agoraphobia,
Right.
meaning he couldn't leave his house.
Yeah.
And she worked on a 30-second clip of a movie in the movie technique that happened to him many years ago. I think it was a war memory, and it took almost an hour and a half.
Right.
To work on that 30-second clip and all of the things that he had associated with it and all the different aspects of that 30 seconds. But once it was clear, he was completely cleared of it, and in fact, he never experienced that agoraphobia again after that day.
Right. And I suppose if he's had that problem for 18 years, then an hour really is nothing compared to that, is it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And could you make it even more gentler if you said something like, how would you feel if you did think about that problem or whatever?
Yes.
How does that work?
Yeah, so that is, we call that tearless trauma.
Right. Okay, so that's where we can get confused, say, with movie technique and tearless trauma.
Yeah, and that's fine, and that works. In fact, when you're at the very beginning of the process, back at tapping on the movie title, you don't have to have people, okay, close your eyes and think of that movie title and how does it make you feel. If it's really intense, of course you're going to be re-traumatizing.
Right.
So tearless trauma is if you were to imagine that you were closing your eyes and reliving that event, how intense would you be?
Right.
Take a guess.
Right, right.
And that's always a fun one to do in groups because you inevitably have someone trying to close their eyes, and I'm screaming, no, don't close your eyes, don't close your eyes.
Yeah.
It's a step above. It's a way to be general. We always are saying go for specifics, and this is an exception to the rule with some of these gentle techniques is we want to start off more global and then go to more specific.
Right. Is there any other important aspects we need to know about doing the movie technique?
No, just don't be surprised that things are going to come up that the person didn't remember, or that if it's your memory that you didn't remember at all. Just don't be surprised.
Right. And does it lead sometimes to other issues, maybe, once you've cleared that and then maybe something else comes up?
Absolutely.
Right.
That's where those neural pathways, everything is connected. So this event with Mary in the garden, the look that she gave you could actually be really about your mother, and a similar thing happening with your mother, and the same feeling that it brought up in you about inadequacy or insecurity or fear or something of that nature. If it's that intense, and it's something that happened in present day history, believe me, it's always got legs. It's always got some connection to the past, and you want to go there next.
Right.
So, but with the movie technique, I think it's really appropriate to stick with that one very traumatic event, start to finish, before you jump over to another thing.
Right, yeah. Because in a sense, maybe other things are coming up as they're thinking of that particular movie. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. So in that case, and especially if you're working alone, write it down.
Yeah.
Write it down. Oh, yeah, this Mary's thing is totally reminding me of my mother. So write it down so that you can go back later and work on it, or else you might go off and get lost.
Yeah, so keeping it simple, really, in some ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting, and thank you for sharing, the knowledge of the movie technique with us today.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Okay.